ahead and get started here. We're about 5 minutes in. Today, we've got John and Manny from, is it Maripost? Maripost?
Maripost. Yeah.
Maripost. Yeah. Maripost, yes. And we're going to be chatting about our partnership together, and that means how you would utilize our two tools together for the most optimized email flow and on-site experience. So they both mesh really well together. So we've got automated email campaigns to boost your sales. And as we're going through our chat, feel free to throw in any questions that you have into the chat, and I'll be sure to filter those through. So we've got our presenters today. Manny, I'd love for you to give an intro for us.
Sure. My name is Manny Ju, and I'm product consultant here at Maripost. I've been a professional email marketer for the past 17 years. I've worked at various email marketing providers, and Maripost just happens to be the one that I've been with for the past 7.5 years. And my role at Maripost is twofold. Part of it is training. I train internally on email marketing, and also I advise on the product roadmap, because Maripost Marketing Cloud is the flagship product of Maripost. And so I give some guidance and help with priorities on what are the features in terms of how would they best meet the needs of today's modern email marketer.
Lovely. And then John, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So I'm John Lang. I manage our partner environment, which is why we have a great relationship with Justuno. And I help with building relationships with partners to help them understand what Maripost does. And to give you a quick sense of that, Maripost essentially is an omni-channel marketing platform. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of omni-channel, even though it's accurate, because it's kind of a marketing speak word. But at the end of the day, you know, we provide kind of two core solutions: one, an e-commerce solution, and two, a marketing automation and email solution. I'm on the email side of the house, but we incorporate things like social, text, beyond the ability to create journeys, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, and campaigns. We also have great search capabilities for the e-commerce side of things and the retail side of things and the point of sale side of things. But again, we're going to focus a little bit more on email today. And what I'm super excited about today is the fact that I think we have a perfect marriage in this event today, in that with Justuno, there are going to be folks that are going to help companies get more interest in the business. And Maripost is going to be the company, I think, that's going to be able to take that interest, take that stranger, and turn them into not just a buyer, but an evangelizer and a repeat buyer. So I think we're going to talk about all those things today, kind of thing. And the idea is, as you already know, it's a fireside chat. But we do have some slides. We are, it's a forewarning, we do have some slides, because I think the visuals are important. So it'll be conversational, but also slides, and feel free to ask questions as you go along. We may take them at the end, but if they're pertinent, we might address them as well. So let me just start with the buyer circles of trust. And by the way, this is a concept created by our own Manny Ju, who thankfully is on the call. So when I flub up, he can kind of fill in the areas. But we're going to talk about different things as it relates to capturing interest and taking that stranger and getting that stranger into your ecosystem, right? And we all have been to Amazon. We're out to buy something and we bought that thing. But many of you on the call know that it goes so much more beyond that. And it's about not just about one-time sales, but it is about that too. But it's about, again, taking that stranger and turning them into a buyer, and then a repeat buyer, and an evangelist. And how does that work? I mean, it's built on relationships. And, you know, relationships are about trust. They're about educating your potential person before they ultimately, again, gain trust in you and ultimately buy your product. And that takes time, and that takes conversation, and that takes different levels of conversation to get them to know who you are, to get them to understand what you do, and to get them to understand your relationship to the product that they're selling and their relationship, and to build, you know, to gain trust in them before you buy anything. And so it can be, that doesn't have to be a personal conversation. But it works the same way. And the beauty is you can do these things. That guy lying on the beach making lots of money off his e-com site doesn't have a one pony approach where he's just hoping somebody falls to their site and makes a purchase. The idea is that he's attracting people in using all kinds of different techniques to do so. And then starting to talk to him and educate him on building that trust and credibility by letting them know they know about their challenges, pains, problems, etc. So the circle essentially incorporates a way for you to use different levels of communication, and we call them journeys or campaigns, to start to segment those relationships, to start to identify, what the relationship is and how do we move them from the farthest circle where they're a stranger and unaware of what we do, to interested and ultimately engaged and ultimately buying our product, then becoming a repeat buyer, an advocate, an evangelizer, an influencer, right? We can do all that with email, and email isn't the end all be all, but it is definitely a component that you're going to want to definitely incorporate into your environment. Many e-commerce systems don't actually give you the real capabilities that you need to take people through this process, if you will. So I don't know if that all makes sense. Hoping it does. Any questions pop up?
Yeah, John, before you go off this one here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention to you that a lot of times we get questions on like, what do I say in my email? A lot of times email copywriters get hit with that sense of writer's block. And one of the things about this model here is that it really helps you with your email copywriting too. Because, for example, let me just take a very, very a simplistic example. Hey, let's start a family. All right, that's an appropriate thing to say with somebody that you're in a committed relationship with. But hey, let's start a family is probably not a very good thing to say to somebody that you just met, right? That's kind of creepy, right? But unfortunately, so many of the emails are like that. So when you write your email, you always want to be thinking about, who am I sending this email to? Is this to somebody who's at the outer stages of trust? Well, then the call to action is going to be something that's different to somebody who's at the outer level versus somebody who's at the inner level. So be aware of how much trust is in that audience that you're sending the email to, and make sure that you don't have a call to action that's asking for a higher degree of trust than really what they're willing to give. So just a tip on how you write your emails.
I love that. And because you're already doing so much work, or I should say really good work in curating that email copy, that is exactly what can influence your on-site messaging. And then taking it a step further to how are they behaving on-site, given either the email flow they're coming from, where you are already establishing like where they are in this circle of trust. That is just kind of less work for your on-site messaging and can let you know how engaging that point is to them based on how they engage with that pop-up once they get on site. Mm-hmm. And John, you mentioned something really great. I wanted to ask you, is there a sweet spot into how many channels it takes to get to like the circle, like the very middle pink part? Like I think of email and SMS, but there's like so many different ways that we could go through it. Is there a sweet number that you see?
Yeah, that's tough to say. Of course, it depends on the business model, and maybe even Manny's a better person to answer this because he's building his own side business and looking at those various channels. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the sweet spot is because there's so many different social channels and all these different costs associated. But you have to put yourself out there. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And you have to put yourself out there, and sometimes that does cost money and it costs time. And to Manny's point, you've got to have the right content to engage with people, to kind of bring them into your sphere. John Davis, you sell vintage musical equipment, right? So I play guitar, so I'm on YouTube all the time. And I have people that teach guitar that I've become very familiar with, and I don't know them at all personally, but they've built definitely a level of credibility. And ultimately, what are they doing? They're pushing more to Patreon and to their own websites and those types of things. And that's one way to kind of build trust. And ultimately, they're never selling, right? They're teaching. But what are they doing with teaching is ultimately they're building that trust and credibility with you to start, so that you are no longer a stranger and you come into their sphere kind of thing. So So many different channels. That would be another webinar entirely, but I guess
Yeah.
those are my 2 cents.
I love that. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like there's necessarily a sweet number, but a sweet spot in just like how you use that one channel. Like you
Yeah.
said, education, YouTube, totally makes sense. I love
Yeah,
it.
Steph, I think that's a great question too, and it's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that because there is a strong synergy between email and social media. And later on in the presentation, when we get to it, I'll show you, for all of you who are on this fireside chat, how you can make email and social media work together closely to you, closely for your purposes. So we'll get to there.
Oh yeah. Excellent.
And by
I'm
the way, one last thing, segmentation is big, right? John Davis, you sell all these different things. So if you can start to segment, very simply your leads from your customers, segment in some cases men from women, segment the guys that like basses versus drums versus synthesizers. Those are all unique conversations to be had. And so the way that you can do that, and we're coming right here to the flow tip where we're asking questions on that first pop-up, right? And I'm stealing your thunder. I apologize.
You're good.
So yeah, those are all super important things of what happens once we've attracted somebody, which is a great time to turn over to Steph to talk a little bit about what Justuno can bring to the table.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that tee up. I'm going to go into a flow tip. So just hitting on different tips within an on-site flow that is just like kind of a straight line getting to purchase and then post-purchase, but you as merchants or users of tools can just take this flow in different directions based off of what you need. So we've got the first item, right? Someone is landing on site. Ideally, we want to greet them with an enhanced lead capture. So John Davis, just going to call you out because we're doing great here, but you would ask maybe what they've recently picked up, if it's a new hobby or an existing one that they've been playing for years. And that's a way to kind of build a deeper segmentation, AKA profile on a visitor that you can retarget with really curated content. In this case, for just here, we've got the beauty industry, which is really great. They're really great at utilizing like data and capturing that data from the website. And it's something that I would love to see all e-commerce brands apply because it is so easy just to add it into a lead capture where they are already prone to give you that email. And this is just something that makes sense and is personalizing it for them. So we'll get into then a visitor is on site and they are browsing on site. So they're opted into whatever channel you're focusing on, whether that be email or SMS. And then browsing could entail visiting multiple pages if they actually get to a reviews page. So different targeting scenarios could be that browsing impact for you. And I know here I've got this cool GIF that shows us like getting into the reviews, right? And this is somewhere where if they are getting into this section of a product page just based off of how much they're scrolling, that could show someone with a little bit more intent to purchase again. Or if they're a repeat purchaser and they're getting to this, that kind of gives you that identifier that they are looking for an opportunity to be cross-sold or upsold in a way, and for you to get feedback off of anything that they previously purchased. So just different ways we can think about someone getting to like those different parts of the product page. All right, so they've added something to their bag. This is giving us a lot of data of what they have purchased. So if they leave site, we can retarget with previously purchased items. And that's something that can work perfectly with your email flows and what you're ideally sending out to what they previously viewed. So a nice cart reminder, whether they're on desktop or mobile, we can take it either way. After they've purchased, we're getting to a branded tracking page, which is really ideal for those upsell, cross-sell opportunities and to really understand their preferences. So this is a great page to target in that on-site flow because they are checking their order status page continuously. And it's nice, like if they're coming back and it's more curated for them instead of just something that kind of doesn't give them anything fulfilling once they have checked it. We get into this feedback loop that includes creating a persona. And this feedback loop is exactly where MaraPost I don't want to say comes into play, because everything that you get from an email campaign kind of goes into that initial first visit as well. So I would love, yeah, Johnny and Manny, for you to speak to this persona and feedback loop point. Oh, I got you muted, Manny.
Sorry, that was me. So this is what John was talking about in terms of what we call journeys. If you're using a email platform, maybe you've heard the term flows, maybe you've heard the term campaigns, but here at Maripost, they're called journeys. And basically, they're automated sequences of messages that you want to send, whether you want to send an email, a in-app message, or a push notification, or an SMS. But the idea is that there's going to be some type of a trigger. And what's great is that if you can detect what's happening on site, and then you can send them into a email flow. And this is what we were talking about earlier, where when you have people who are on your site, those are those people that are at the outer circles. These are your interested. These are your engagers. And so the role of email marketing is to move people from one circle of trust to the next inner circle. Yeah, now people are going to do it on their own organically, but don't just rely on organic transitions. That's really what email is all about, is to move people. So you are actually taking control of transitioning your audience. And so by looking at who are the people that are interested, using the on-site tools that Justuno has, who's interested, who's really engaging with me, use emails now to move them to become gradually to become buyers.
I love that. You mentioned not relying on the organic transitioning. And I think that's so great, because yeah, we don't want to rely on it. We just want it to be able to influence us. So really take it into consideration how people are naturally behaving, so that we can just curate, optimize that behavior so it will apply to similar customers or to-be customers.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Great visual there. So yeah, we get into exactly what Manny said. We're encouraging a next purchase, encouraging, I like to say in general, just like engagement with the brand. So we kind of brought up channels. So whether that be like opting into a social contest and keeping up with you that way, that's another way that they're like checking in with you as a brand that's outside of that tracking page. So various routes to keep you engaged. And you'll see we've got this cool banner up top. So we're unlocking 20% off your next order when you join the monthly club. That kind of leads into whether you have a subscription program or a membership program. There is a little difference there, and like which one is a priority for you. And I think, so the point that we're speaking to of that trust, like where do they fall in the trust circle for you to get them either into like the membership, or are we just giving them really awesome like subscription points and loyalty offers? Then ideally they're re-entering as a customer, and we're giving them a really great message that is giving them frictionless checkout options and giving them something in terms of a recommendation or way to engage with us that is educational or coincides with part of where they are in that trust circle. Swing it over to Maripost after any comments you may have for my flow.
Okay.
Take it away.
All right, Simon, thanks a lot. So that was pretty cool. And I like the way that we have this all laid out too, because now here's where we can talk about how email is a great tool to really augment what's happening on your website, because really that's that perfect 360-degree transition, right? You capture people from your website so that you can then email to them, and you use email to send people back to your website. So you have that nice circle. And John, you talk to a lot of our partners as well. So definitely feel free to join in on this conversation here. And I put this slide up here because I really want to talk about this slide and the one that follows it. And that is really, you're all marketers, and you know that it's not really just about how do you get somebody to buy, who's interested in one product, to buy something that's more expensive, right? That's not really what you want to do. So if we can look at the next slide, this is really where you want to be thinking, right? It's not just a product where now you're haggling about price, but rather you want to get them interested in multiple products. And that's where you're talking about average order value, right? So the ordinary marketer talks about price, but good marketers talk about average order value of the cart. So this next slide here is a good example of what I'm talking about. And I'm sure that many of you already have a table like this that you actually go off of and plan your revenue stream. So on that first column, sure, you just sell a product and that's it, just one product. But a lot of times what some of the more advanced marketers, they use what's concept of a sales funnel, where not only do you buy one product, but you try to get them interested in complementary products, right? And so here's an example where, yeah, you've got somebody who bought that core product, but you know that there's a percentage of people who would buy a follow-up product if you offered it to them as a special promotion, right? Some of you, I mean, you've probably seen those a lot. Maybe you're already using it yourselves, but I'll guarantee you that many of you have already seen that yourselves when you're shopping on a site and all of a sudden it's like, hey, one-time offer, don't go away, right? If you don't buy it now, you'll never get it at this price. And so you're going to get a certain percentage of them. And then, so if you set up your sales funnel with multiple one-time offers, so there you go, as you see in this table here, that's what we mean by average order value of a cart. So you're always going to get a better revenue than if you just try to focus on selling one single product. So let's go to this next one here. And this is that quote I was telling you about. I love Digital Marketer. This is one of the best quotes I've ever seen about the role of email marketing and why everyone who is selling anything online should be using email marketing. Even if you've never used it before, you can always get started because there are many, many, many platforms out there that you can actually send email for free, right? And that's why email is one of the best marketing channels, because hey, you can't beat free. All right. So let me give you an example about something that I went through. So this next slide here I'm going to show you is what I mean by a sales funnel that has a combination of one-time offers. I know if you kind of sort of lean in on the screen, you know, maybe get your reading glasses on, you'll see that at the top of the one, this is a ad for Bandu foot pads. And they have the idea is that they have a little product where it's got a little adhesive and you adhere it to the bottom of your feet, your soles of your feet. And it's got, the pads are permeable. And so they've got like charcoal in them and all these different things. And the idea is that when you sleep at night, they'll get all the toxins out of the soles of your feet. Now, whether you believe in that or not, whether you believe the science behind that or not, that's I thought I'd just give it a try, you know, because from time to time I do get a little bit of joint pain in my feet, and I thought, sure, why not? So I went to that, I bought the foot pad, and after filling in my information, my credit card, then lo and behold, I saw this one-time offer, right? This one-time offer for detox tea. So I said, okay, no thanks. I wasn't interested in detox tea, so I said no thank you. So then I got this other one-time offer. Well, what about joint pain? Surely you're interested in joint pain. And I said, no, I'm not interested in joint pain. So I clicked not interested. Oh, but what about snoring relief? Surely you're interested in snoring relief, right? So you can see how you've got these things here where it's 3 one-time offers that they're sending at me. So let's recap this. Next slide, please. You'll see that they captured me from a social media ad. Right? That's how I saw them. How they just somehow one day, clear out of the blue, showed up in my Facebook ad stream. Now, look here. So now that they got me, right? I got the email for the purchase confirmation. But foot pads are a renewable item, aren't they? Right? You don't reuse them. They're one and done. So now guess what? On this next slide here, now that they got me, what do? They send me replenishment emails every other week, sending me back. But the thing is, they send me back to the top of the funnel every time, right? So now they go through it again, and they're counting on me. They know that I want to buy foot pads again, but now they're counting on wearing me down. that at some point in time, I will most likely try either their detox tea or their snoring relief or their joint pain relief, right? They just send me to the top. So there you go. So that's the idea. You're trying to get people at case 1, 2, and 3 who bought your core product and maybe bought only your core product or maybe one of your one-time offers. And what you're trying to do is get email to get as many of your audience as possible down into case 4. So now we're talking about average order value of your cart. So let's take a look at this next slide. This is what we want to give you as a takeaway. Even though Bandu is using email, yes, as a replenishment to send me to the top of the funnel, this is what John and I want you to think about. And that is, you can also use email to send people back to any different level of your sales funnel, not just at the top. So for people who only bought your core product, send them to the one-time offer. For people who only bought your core and your one-time offer, send them to your second one-time offer. You get the point, is that you don't have to just send them to the top. Email together with web analytic data, you can send them to the various levels of your funnel. You want to keep sending them through. So I'm going to show you how to set up something in Maripost. But before I do, just want to pause. John, Steph, you got anything you want to add or mention before we move on?
Yeah, I let Don go first here.
Well, I was just going to say, Chris Goodsell asked a question, so I want to address a couple of questions. He asks, what's a good balance for one-time offer and your core automations to limit sends per month?
Sure. The main thing is I would not look at sends per month as your limit. First things first, right? You want to look at how just your sales funnel itself, right? And your web analytic information is going to give you a good feel for at what point in time do people get, well, they're done with your sales funnel, right? And so there's been some that I've seen, especially for B2B marketers, right? Where not only will they have a one-time offer, but they'll try different upsells and they'll try different downsells too. So that's the first thing you want to think about your sales funnel. Now, in terms of email, don't worry. There's no such thing as sending too much email. I guarantee you, there really isn't. There is such thing as sending not enough email, however. But don't worry, there's no such thing as sending too much email. Why? Because there are some of our clients that send emails every day. Some of our clients send emails several times a day. And these are people that make over $1 million a month in sales. Okay. These are $1 million sellers. And so there's no such thing as sending too much email. Don't worry about it. If people don't want your emails, they don't have to read it. Right?
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that, Manny, is you can reduce your sends as you get more targeted in your audience, right? When you know somebody who likes guitars but isn't into basses, now you're sending less to that specific targeted audience. The more that you get to know your potential customer, the more that you'll reduce your spends. But I agree, once you've got that segment and they've opted into communications, you want to send email because there is a payoff on email of 40 to 1. I think that's 4,000%. For every spend on your email of $1, there's a $40 return is the industry word on that. So you want to send more, but you want to make it as targeted and as valuable to them as possible. So if they don't buy, we want to think about why they don't buy. And we want to think about getting back to the point of maybe journey number 2, right? Where we want to get them engaged and build that trust through educational offerings and storytelling. I didn't bring up storytelling, right? Being able to tell a story about that particular item so that you are, again, building credibility and trust, because they're going to require that to let the relationship develop before they might be ready to buy.
Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think the visuals here are awesome and just showing kind of how you were just forced to go into that conversion flow when, just like John was saying, like once you get more segmented in just like naturally by capturing a little bit of data, like that's what will help these sends for you. And also, like, Manny, you were going through this, and I was like, I just wish they would have thrown you a quiz. Like, hey, what else would you want to hear about? Just like anything. But I see how this flow is like really meant to put you in one spot. And maybe this is the flow that works for just that visitor coming from a paid ad that is like a super focused, like how to use video pitches itself. So yeah, I love these. I will say, like, when it comes to email and making it just more effective, like post reading the email and post click, once someone arrives to your website, we're not just like showing everyone a pop-up. We're really targeting the UTM that is in the email you created to, like Manny was saying, give the right, like, they're taking you in this example through a whole flow that's built on their website. You could do the same flow in a pop-up based off of that UTM targeting. So definitely different ways to approach it and maybe be like more or less aggressive here.
You know, that's a good point before we move off the slide here, because it really plays into what Justuno has in terms of just their core competencies. And that is that in this case, we're talking about using emails to send people back into a particular level of a sales funnel. But what if you're not using sales funnels? Not a problem, because Steph just mentioned it. You can use an email to send people back to your site. And because you've targeted that email, what they see on your site, you can control, because you've got the links to your site in the body of the email, and you know who you're targeting with that particular email campaign. And so you can actually customize what they see on your site by virtue of what email that they clicked from.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can make it, it's very literal, and like using the right messaging. If you're offering like a coupon code, for example, in your email, you can also attach that to the URL to then be the same coupon code they see on the website. So all just like very curated for them, make them feel special, like allows you to use less coupons, allows for there to be a sync there. So yeah, lots of ways to connect just an email flow to the on-site messaging at different stages, like first arriving, or they have something in their cart, for example.
Yep.
Stephanie, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And the question is from a colleague, but what is the best way to use lead capture on your site or on a site?
Yeah, on a site, I would say the best way is to think about it with quality over quantity, which I know can scare a lot of people because that reduces the amount of opt-ins just naturally when it's like not in your face, versus maybe wait a page for your page to load and them to experience your website and all the hard work that you've put into it. So I think like best way also we would want to consider if someone's on desktop or mobile, and like how design is really being executed in the best way, which for me means like not taking over the whole screen, not being the same experience that I would get if I was visiting from another channel and like from an influencer, for example. So I think that can all lead into like what is the best way to do lead capture. But just overall, we do advise like a welcome lead capture pop-up for those that are coming to your site as new visitors or return visitors. And for sure, we don't want to show any kind of lead capture to someone that's already opted in. So I think that's something that I don't see too often, is just that really unique segmentation kind of based off of the basics, if someone's opted into SMS or email or not, and like where they are in those channel engagements.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, I love that question.
All right, so let me just wrap things up here by giving you all a quick example of how would you send emails to somebody. So let's take a look at this next year slide. And this is, I'm taking you into the Journey Builder, which is in Maripost Marketing Cloud. And this one here is a sequence of emails that you would send to people who just bought your core product. So I wanted to talk about that first widget right after people who purchased that core product only, and you want to send them to Facebook. So this is an example I was talking to you about, how you've got email with a great synergy with your web store, but now here where you can have email, which is great synergy with your Facebook ad campaigns, because this gives you information that Facebook doesn't have access to, and that is who actually bought your product. So just think about this now. You can have a Facebook ad campaign which is targeted to people who actually bought your product. Why would you want to do that? Maybe you want to have a Facebook ad campaign that does upsell or cross-sell and use social media to do that. And another thing too, which is really, really cool about Facebook is their lookalike audiences, right? Lookalike audiences are those who haven't followed you, but fit the profile of those who do. And so here's where you can expand the audience, your addressable audience of your Facebook ad campaigns using lookalike audiences, and let Facebook's own algorithm calculate who that would be. So the idea, though, is by using Maripost or just using your buyers to send them into Facebook, now you've got people who not only fit the profile of people who follow you on Facebook, but who actually buy products from you. Those are your most valuable people that you want to reach. So then you're going to send a series of emails, and it's really all about education, right? You don't want to sell at this point in time because they already bought from you. What you want to do is get them to maximize the value out of what they just bought. Maybe some of you've probably done that. You sign up for a free software product, or maybe you sign up for a software product and you're using their basic tier. And all of a sudden you get all these emails teaching you how to use their software product. And some of the best, I think a couple of years ago, there was an award-winning campaign that was done by Sephora Cosmetics. And it was a product education campaign targeted to young women who bought cosmetics but had no idea how to apply them. And so what they did is they sent out several series of emails teaching, well, how do you put on mascara? How do you put on eyeliner, right? How do you put on foundation? All those cool things. And so that's why at the very top, at the very beginning, all it is product education campaigns, building trust, as John mentioned. Don't worry, you got plenty of time to sell. You got plenty of time to sell, but your sales will be more effective the better that you build the trust. And the last thing is that at the very end, now that I'm done building trust, now I'm done building, reinforcing the benefits of the decision that somebody made for buying that product. Now I want to send them into another email sequence, which is to get them interested in buying more products, the one-time offer products. So let's take a look at that next one, and it looks a little bit different. So here, what you want to do is ask yourself, did the people even read my email at all? So that's that bottom track. Did they even click through the email at all? If they didn't click through to my landing page, okay, maybe I got a problem with my subject line. Maybe I got a problem with my creative. Maybe I got a problem with the layout, right? So you're going to play around with all those things just to get them to click through to your landing page. But then there's another decision tree, and you're looking at people who did click through your email and did go to your landing page. Well, did they buy? So now you can determine, okay, did they buy? Great. Now I'm going to send them into another journey, which is to get them to buy my other products. But if they did respond to my email, but they didn't buy, okay, so now I'm going to have a slightly different message. Well, why didn't you buy? Maybe I need to provide some incentive. Maybe if you guys are selling subscription-based products that are higher priced, maybe you want to offer a payment plan instead, right? So make like online courses, right? Course creators do this all the time. Maybe you're trying to sell a $500 course. So maybe you want to target the people who didn't buy it. Maybe they bought your $29.95 ebook, but they didn't buy your $400 online course. Maybe you want to offer the course to them in payment plans, right? So that would be an example of a different type of a communication that you'd use in this type of an email sequence to get people to buy.
I love that. It made me think I was part of a conversation at this mastermind, and they were talking about pricing and having that, I can't remember what the concept's name is, but just having that, like you said, that $400, $500 course, and like that being the top tier. but okay, this really isn't necessarily the market, but we can pitch them something else that is going to do the trick, that feels a little easier to purchase and to like give some trust into. And then you always have that very high valued or high priced item as kind of like to get them in. But yeah, that I love this flow. I love that you're like, it's a little different. Yeah, because we're actually considering these main just trigger points that could occur that we would like to occur. And it made me think of, you were saying like there's plenty of time to sell. And I love that because it's like email, since it's like the original channel, I feel like it doesn't have to do all the work. Like when someone gets on site, that's where messaging can come into play and give you that opportunity to have that sales voice or that more branded voice, however it leads in from email. So yeah, we don't have to put so much on email. We can definitely enhance it like outside of what the email is trying to do.
Yeah, and the only other comment I would make, and I think Guitar Center does this well. I'm going to stick with you, John, on the music theme, is that your ultimate goal is to get them to buy something, and oftentimes the best way to do that, to Manny's point, right, is to get them to buy something for $3, because once they've bought something for $3, they know that you're real. They know that the risk is much less. And those are the people ultimately you're going to have the much better chance at upselling. So Guitar Center does the 50% off a capo, for example, or a guitar stand, something that would act as a loss leader, because the value of that customer to them for the long haul is significantly more than what they may have lost or gained on that first sale. So ultimately think about, just like Manny said, if you're doing a course, you maybe make it free to get them in, or it's $29, because ultimately you're going for the $1,000 premium package, if you will, kind of thing. You just got to get them into your world. And of course, I'll keep going back to it, right? It starts with first capturing them, and sure, you can go for the sale, but you got to build trust and start to segment those relationships and educate them properly through various channels, landing pages being a good example. So yeah, that's my only additional comment there.
I like that. I'll add on to that in that UGC, user generated content, whether it's like videos or just showing how your product is being used or the benefits from not your voice specifically, can go a long way and can be, I've seen be like their own email flows. I don't know if you guys have set like that up specifically, but I don't see it as often as I think I would like, where there's just like a dedicated UGC email flow that's like giving a lot of inspo or making someone feel really good about the purchase. So yeah, I would say feel free to test that out, whether it's like in the pop-up or just like building off of your email flows that we see here. Love it. Okay, let me get into how I feel about this one, Manny. Did we review this?
Yeah, this one here was just a final recap, just showing you that you have that first one there, which is really targeted to people who bought your core product only. Same thing, right? It's about educating them about your product, reinforcing and saying, that was a great idea that you did about buying that product. You were so smart. And helping them maximize the value, because that's building trust, right? Don't just assume, and that's a key thing. Don't just assume people know how to use your product.
Yeah.
I mean, lipstick, how basic is that? And I love it that Sephora did not assume that everybody who buys lipstick knows how to apply lipstick. And that was an award-winning campaign that they did. So don't assume, and use email to educate people on the benefits and how to maximize the benefits of the product. Then the last three ones there, those are the journeys, those are the email sequences that you want to use, which are designed to convert your buyers into repeat buyers, right? And you're taking into account the fact that maybe there's people who don't respond to your email. Okay, great. Work on that. Try to work on getting people to at least go to your landing page. What about the people who did go to your landing page but didn't buy? Great. You can work on that also. The call to action, maybe you're going to tweak it some more. So what you're going to do to your emails is going to be different. But the nice thing is that, and that's what's great about these types of automated sequences, which is actually where the world of email marketing has gone in the past 10 years. Something that you're seeing on screen today, 15 or 17 years ago when I got started, it'd be like, what is that? You know, nowadays it's table stakes. If you don't have that in your email platform, people are like, why am I even talking to you? All right. And the cool thing is that all you need to do is set it up once, and then it just runs automatically. People are coming to your website all the time. So once you set up your structure, once you set up the sequence, it's lights out. You don't have to do anything. Maybe you're going to tweak the content a little bit. Maybe you're going to tweak the subject line. Maybe you're going to do the tweaks just to make it more relevant. But really, by and large, these things can just run lights out.
I love that. Would you say, Manny, or what's your idea on AI and optimizing these email flows, like you just said?
Sure. But yeah, you know, it's kind of fun. I teach a whole masterclass on using ChatGPT for email content. What you can do. The only thing that I give as caution is that let me just use Google, for example. Google uses AI to detect if you're using AI. So what do you got to do? You got to use AI. So there's a lot of content checkers that you can use. Many of them are free tools that you can use to, after you've generated AI content, you can use to check if your AI content is going to be flagged as AI content. So my only point is, don't be lazy. Okay. Use AI generated content just to help you get past writer's block, right? Just to help you get a framework of what you want to say. And then there's a lot of times where there's two things that AI cannot do. And that is replicate your personal experiences, okay? It can't do that. So what you can do is take the content that AI has given you and then edit it and then just put in your point of view, maybe tie in something that you've done or use your own words to say it, right? So it's a good starting point, but don't just rely purely on AI generated content. Don't be lazy.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that's a great point, that there's like checkers for our AI that we are trying to use in our real life cases. And I'll just comment on the AI too, that it's a great time to really commit to creating an awesome prompt for yourself that you feel can help you. And that's like exactly what Manny's saying. And that's not being lazy, taking the time to help it like speak your voice, like, hey, you're this marketer, you're targeting this. So feel free to give it those specifics and at least teach it to help you get to outside of that writer's block that you have. But
yeah,
on AI, Manny. Cool. Let me check the chat here and our time. We've got about 7 minutes left, and I'll get into.
I'll take one. John Davis asks, where do I start running the risk of pissing someone off because I've sent them too much stuff, or how much stuff do I need to space stuff out? Great question. I'm sure Manny has an opinion here as well. So first of all, I think if you've done a good job of capturing interest, determining who they are and starting to segment them, and then give them relevant information, education to them, and ultimately you're selling a product that they're interested in, there's very little danger that they're going to opt out. And if they do, they do. But I can't tell you how many emails I still get that I don't even read, but I don't opt out. Guitar Center is one, because I'm waiting for that one thing I'm looking for, or that super amazing discount that they're offering that I would otherwise not know about. So I'll never opt out of Guitar Center, even though they kind of hammer me. I'm okay with it. And that's one example of other emails that I get. So, you know, you're always going to potentially piss somebody off in the way that you'll typically do that, certainly as if they're not opted in. But if you're not talking to them that they want to be spoken to about the specific item or subject matter that they want to be talked to, as long as you're adding value and not being overly salesy, you should be okay. And if you're offering them deals, right, you should be good. It shouldn't be too much of a concern. And some of our, we're an email company for emailers. And what I mean is professionals that are sending, hundreds of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of millions of emails. Like Manny had alluded to earlier, they're not shy about their emailing. They know what they're doing, and you may get an email, a day. And if it's loaded with content that is interesting, we've got people that give you a prayer a day, for example, or some other relevant tip per day, or a good thought of the day, and it comes out every day, and they love it. That may not be applicable to your business, but don't worry, you're gonna, and by the way, you got to piss, you're gonna break a few eggs, as they say, and that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Plus also, yeah, and plus also, I have never seen anybody getting pissed off by receiving too many emails. What people get pissed off about is sending them too many emails where you're saying the wrong thing. So it's more about what you're saying in your emails. For example, if I'm talking to you, like I'm Manny, the used car salesman, all right, you're not gonna want to listen to me talk very long. However, if I talk to you as Manny, the Mercedes-Benz salesman, and I talk to you with respect because I know that you're in for a higher level of car, right? That's where it goes back to, and that's why the circles of trust is so important. I know we've seen different models of the customer engagement journey. A digital marketer has like a trail. We've all seen the funnels and things like that. But rather, if you try to build trust in your emails and don't just hit them up with sales, people will actually want to read your emails. They really do. So think about what you want to see in your emails. Good point. This thing here, I don't know if you can see it on my cup. I don't know if you guys know what this is. This is $100 coffee mug. I really don't like lukewarm coffee. I don't. Yeah, you got it. It's an Ember mug. Yeah, that's right, my friend. Because here's the thing, I hate lukewarm coffee. So what I've been doing is getting up, going in the microwave, and zapping my cup of coffee with 1,000 gigawatts of energy just for those last 4 sips. And I said, that doesn't make sense. So I went to Amazon. I found Ember. The reason why it's $100 coffee mug is because it's battery powered. So I can take my mug with me wherever I go, and it's constant. And I can set the temperature to 147.3 degrees Fahrenheit every time because there's a mobile app that I connect to my phone. Heavy. I know. So I know. So what's the point? Ember sends me emails with, now I bought it in the wintertime. So what does it do? It sends me recipes. Right? A cup is a cup. Come on now. A cup's a cup. So what they do is they send me emails with recipes of drinks that I can drink out of my Ember mug. And then, oh, by the way, they have a product grid at the bottom of the email about other products I might be interested. So that's a classic example of how you can send emails respecting the intelligence of your reader and still use them to sell products.
That's awesome. That's like, I literally had to zap my coffee today. So I'm like, yes, it does suck. I want that.
Yeah.
And they keep you like, I was going to get into like how they were saying, like, we shouldn't be afraid to send the emails we're going to send if they are really contributing to Manny using his mug a little bit more, or like feeling really great talking about it and like showing how he's using it, right? That's like just naturally going to lead into a different topic of like referral land. And I'm sure you've got different email flows for that. But I feel like with referral stuff and like what you were just saying, that is so great to highlight in emails, on your website. And it's something that like people, like if you really like something, you're talking about it. And you just aren't really thinking of that referral being a referee, an influencer in that moment. So keeping that top of mind for customers is really key. And I think building up that community outside of just like, oh, you're a customer and you're not a customer, but they get the brand.
One last super quick point. And this is email 101, right?
Yeah.
is you're not a spammer. People are opting in to receive communications, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to go out and purchase lists, because then you become a spammer, and that is wasted money, let me tell you. So it's all about attracting people into your world, and certainly that's an area Juno can help. And then how do we start communicating with them? So just remember that you're not a spammer, and if somebody opts out, that's okay. We just have to evaluate your strategy, kind of thing.
Yes, that's great. And it's all about like where you're getting the list from, right? If it's from your website and you're using an amazing pop-up on Justuno, then you're getting that quality opt-in, and you're able to ask questions right away to know, like, do they want to get an email 3 times a week, or are they more of a once a time a week person at this moment, which can evolve for sure. But we had some wonderful questions come in. Thank you, John and Manny, for hopping in here and giving us some really solid insight and some really great visuals. I'm always just a screenshotter myself, so that's awesome. And yes, everyone, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Our emails are up here. And then with these QR codes, you'll see it's 2 offers here that if I was a marketer, I would combine and see how I could get the most